Ready, aim, fire.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's 6 p.m. and it's time to call the City Council meeting to order on December 1st, 2025. Ms. Jones, roll call, please.
Mr. Austin?
Present.
Mr. Shuck?
Here.
Ms. McGinnis?
Here.
Ms. Nally?
Here.
Ms. Price? Mr. Prine?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. I don't see Brian Reese, so Mr. Shook.
All right, I'll take care of this. You'll bow your heads in prayer with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this night. We give all glory to you in heaven. We thank you for our many blessings, which include the city of Franklin, the open forum that we have this evening, and all our families that live here as well. We just bless or ask that you look over us as we make decisions tonight for the city and its residents, and we just pray for everyone's safety to get home this evening. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
All right, thank you all for coming out on this nice snowy night that we have. Right off the bat, under announcements and public comments, we have two new firemen that we're excited to swear in tonight. So Cameron Moore and Ethan Hurley. Hired as a firefighter to the City of Franklin Fire Department.
I've been hired as a firefighter to the City of Franklin Fire Department.
I swear to support the Constitution of the United States of America,
I swear to support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the rules and regulation of the Franklin Fire Department.
and the rules and regulations of the Franklin Fire Department.
I swear to obey all lawful orders
I swear to obey all lawful orders
of my superior officers and faithfully discharge
of my superior officers and
faithfully
discharge
the duties of my position to the best of my ability.
the duties of my positions to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
That wasn't bad. Picture of that. Raise your right hand, sir, and repeat after me. I, Ethan Hurley, have been hired as a firefighter for the City of Franklin, Indiana Fire Department.
I've been hired for the City of Franklin Fire Department.
I swear to support the Constitution of the United States of America,
I swear to support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of Indiana,
and the rules and regulations of the Franklin Fire Department.
of the rules and regulations of the fire department.
I swear to obey all lawful orders
I swear to obey all lawful orders
of my superior officers
of my superior officers
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge all duties
of my position of the best of my ability.
of my position of my best position of my ability.
He's a lieutenant of Greg Hurley is his daddy.
Congratulations.
Mom. The girls can get pictures for you. We need to scoot that way.
You want here? One, two, three.
All right, who else needs the pictures?
I was told it was too bad to do these pictures outside. One, two, three. Got it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you to the firefighters for coming to support your teammates tonight. Appreciate it.
Because they ignore you. Yeah, she got a little one. She got a little one. See about it. I used to work with him in SK when I got along. Yeah.
Okay, is there any other announcements or public comment that's not on the agenda? Hearing none, we will go on to the consent agenda.
Move to approve the meeting minutes from November 17th City Council meeting as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that gets us to old business.
Move to read old business by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to read old business by title only. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number one, approval of ordinance number 25-09, and this will be a public hearing. An ordinance amending ordinance 2016-06 to regulate traffic, vehicles, golf carts, streets, sidewalks, trails, paved recreation or multiple-use paths, and public places. City Attorney Lynn Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. And for purposes of introduction, as you know, this was introduced a couple of meetings ago, and then the notice was published as it's required to do by the Clerk Treasurer's Office. This is a little bit different ordinance in the sense that even though it's placed on the agenda approval of, let me give you the context by which this issue came to the city. When NDOT is reconstructing State Road 31, as we all know, they are doing it. They are removing some of the traffic signals, and they've changed the plans, and that's completely within NDOT's jurisdiction. There were some residents in Franklin Lakes that made calls to the mayor's office and the planning department wanting to know how they would be able to access Rainy City streets without going across 31, because the law only allows you to do it at stoplights, or if they would be required to give up their golf carts. There were some people that were for using a trail, but there were also people that were concerned about using the trail. So the only way, in speaking with the mayor, to really get this to a public forum so people could discuss, so that you all could make the decision, was to bring forth a proposed amendment. The only reason I point that out is I don't want persons of the public to think that I'm advocating for it or against it. That's really your decision, but it was really the only way in accordance with the mayor's desire to, let's get it out here and let's talk about it. So that's why it's presented in the way that it is. If you're inclined to allow the use of the trail, the very specific part of the trail, then you would approve it. If not, then you would simply deny the ordinance. So that's up to you. That's how it's formatted here. The appropriate thing to do is then have a public hearing to let persons who are either for it or against it express their views, and then you can take it under consideration and make your decisions. So, any questions of me? Thank you.
So I think what I'd really like to do is start out and have Matt McElroy, city engineer, come up and show what is being proposed, and, because I think there's a little bit of confusion.
Yeah. If you could pull up the exhibit for everybody to see, it's kind of easy to go along with. So I'll start while she's getting there. This is a challenging kind of task for me as an engineer. There's no standard procedure for trails and golf carts out there, so this is kind of a up-and-coming thing. I know recently Westfield and I don't know if it's Fishers or Carmel have passed ordinances allowing golf carts on trails. So what I looked at basically was the quickest way we could get across 31 here at the Franklin Lake subdivision. And really the only way we considered was the trail here. So what I did was I wanted to oversign it, basically. Make sure we had a lot of safety out there. Obviously, to the extent of even using road conditions as a guidance. As you can see, I'll just go through the signs that I added. I've got 4 no carts beyond this point, so those would be the white signs that you see at both ends of the trail and where they go to the existing cemetery or existing trails over there by Blue Heron Park. I also have 4 golf carts sharing the trail signs, including golf cart symbol sign. Those are also there near the park entrance and also down by the cemetery. Also, there's 8 horizontal alignment signs, so anything to do with curves. So you see the curve ahead, the right and left curve arrows for under the bridge, and then up there where it takes a hard left turn into the Blue Heron parking lot. I also included, and this was the challenge, 2 solar-powered beacons and 2 separate detector repeater units. They're not shown, but there's white text there by the bridge. So what these signals will do, the beacons will be cross-paired. For example, when the east detector is activated, the west beacon will light up and vice versa. So basically the repeater is picking up any kind of pedestrian or golf cart traffic, sending that signal to the other side of the bridge and letting people know that people are on the trail coming that way.
No, sir, there'll be time for public hearing. Right now, we've got to get this on the record. We'll address it at the appropriate time.
Also, I included yellow and white pavement markings to kind of denote the edge of the path and for the center line of the path. And then I also included a chevron and golf cart pavement marking there at the cemetery to direct traffic to the west because we don't want golf cart traffic to go east along the Franklin Greenway Trail there. So that is what happened with that exhibit. Obviously, it is a lot of signs, always room for error. So, if we want to add additional signs in the future as we monitor the trail, that can also be done. And then also pointing out some little trail facts. So there's approximately 21 miles of existing trails and shared use paths in the city of Franklin. And this section affected by the ordinance is just 0.27 miles or 1,400 feet. So wanted to keep it to a minimum. It was really the best option we could come up with. So yeah.
So really, Matt, if I can inject it basically, that's the only option we have, correct?
There is a longer option that runs clear west through the park, Blue Heron Park, crosses up by the hospital into a subdivision, then traffic would have to go all the way back 44 to cross there, or on Jefferson Street, sorry, and cross at the light there. So it's a much longer distance. So I wanted to affect the least distance of trail possible. And this is the best solution that I could come up with.
But under that way, would they have to be on 144 and Jefferson Street?
144 starts at the roundabout,
I'm sorry,
so,
I meant on Jefferson Street on 44, coming out of that subdivision.
Yes,
I believe so, yeah,
Which right now, the golf cart ordinance prohibits that.
yeah,
correct.
so.
Right.
And they would also have to cross over a bridge of a wooden bridge.
Oh, correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know
That
how,
wasn't a very good option, we didn't think
No,
at the
I-
time.
this is really clear as day, the option that worked the best for this, so.
Thank you.
So Matt, can the carts cross 31 now and once this is all done, is there any place that they can actually truly cross 31 along that way? So like even to the north, can they cross 31 or is there?
So there were only 2 intersections that allowed through movements, or 3, I believe. I'd have to look that up. Sorry, I don't have that information. But I think Jeff Street was one, and then at Commerce Drive, they're allowing through traffic there.
Okay.
There might be one other location that I'm not thinking of, but I can definitely look that information up.
And that, of course, on 31, we're limited because that's statutorily mandated.
Yeah, I just,
That's correct.
with the new up and down J turns, I didn't know what
Yeah,
it's going to be.
It has to be a signalized intersection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, with those repeaters, are those activated by sensor or by button
Sensor.
sensors?
There was a button option, but I think with the sensor option, if the button option was pressed, that means both sides would be flashing at once. So you wouldn't know if somebody's coming what direction. With the repeaters, it'll send a signal from the opposite side to let you know somebody's coming that way, and vice versa. It was a little, yeah. I thought it'd be the best option just because of how blind those turns are with the additional signs that I added. I think that was the best option to go with.
I have seen these used before on golf courses mostly, where there are blind spots, so they are used.
Actually, that's where I thought of the idea because I played Tennessee, and there's one for a steep hill that you press so people at the bottom of the hill, you know when the people at the bottom of the hill are gone off the course, so.
Any other questions?
Not for Matt.
You can ask a question.
Okay. So I used to be a resident of Franklin Lakes, so I just wanted to ask, like, if we're revising the trail, like adding all the stuff and the signs and things like that, I know that trail, like specifically underneath the bridge, it tends to get pretty flooded, and especially since those, like, golf carts, like, they're pretty big and, like, they're machines. So, like, would we work on raising that up so it's not flooded as much, or is it just we're adding the signs and the sensors?
So this trail being next to Young's Creek is entirely in a floodway. So any kind of cut or fill within a floodway would require an extensive permitting process. And plus it's NDOT right away to begin with. So I doubt they didn't like the trail in the first place. So to have it there is nice. So I doubt they approve of any kind of,
That's a great question,
It is a
because
great
I want to tell you that for the rest of the council members, when NDOT came through and had jurisdiction, we had, Mark Richards and myself had to really work hard for them not to eliminate the trail entirely. Because their basic policy is not to have trails under any of their bridges. They didn't want that. But since we had had it there for so long, and since it's such an integral part of our trail system to get us to the other, they did agree to leave it. But any changes to it would be very difficult to secure, because we don't want to lose it for at least the pedestrians.
so I will say on that point that our street department is really great. So so is our parks department. So I hope maintenance, cleaning off the trail, like if it floods, I know we already get the mud off of it quickly after a flood. So I just hope that's the same case for this, so.
Matt, along with the markings on the trail, will there also be like a curb to divide, like there is around the dog park? When you're walking through, there's that, like, concrete up about that high that separates the pedestrian from the traffic. Will there be something like that or no, or just the
So-
just the painting?
So again, with the floodway, with that being raised like that, it would require the permit through DNR, because you would be impeding that floodway, so.
Okay.
And I don't know if the park over by the dog park ever got, I'm sure they got permission to do that, but
Maybe not.
Yeah, I can't answer that. I don't remember that one.
And I have another clarifying question. So on the Exhibit A, where it's the trail and it's coming out towards the cemetery, it says no carts beyond that point, meaning like no left turn, so they would have to go right and then get to the street from that way?
yeah, there's no left turns, because we don't want them going to
Yeah.
the park, the Youngs Creek Park there, on the trail system. We want them to utilize the cemetery roads, to get out to, South Street, basically.
Gotcha. Thank you.
One other question, Matt, here. The way that the diagram looks like you're dividing the trail up, but from what I've looked at, there's only enough room for one golf cart and not really enough room for somebody walking or riding along the trail there.
Okay. So where I measured, a lot of the trail sections were 9 feet. So my research came up with golf carts being a standard of 4-foot width. So with the 2 lanes, I was hoping, 4 foot, there's 8 feet. You got the striping to keep you on a certain lane. Now, I didn't measure the entire trail, so it's not saying that there might be a skinnier section here or there. If that's the case, we could also look at, stoning or clearing some vegetation to make a little wider use, or even stone shoulders is something we can add on that doesn't require any permission from DNR. So again, that goes with monitoring how this works out with the exhibit that we got proposed. The box to protect, yeah.
Anybody else? Any questions? Any more questions? Okay, I think, Matt, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
We'll,
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, it's a public hearing, and we typically allow 15 minutes for both sides. We don't have, we're technically remonstrance, but 15 minutes for people that may be for it and 15 minutes against it. The council has the authority to extend either of those. I would just recommend that if you do extend them, you give equivalent time to both sides, so.
okay.
And I would also add, just for purposes of our records, for the clerk treasurer's benefit, if you are going to speak, if you'd sign in, that helps her records be correct.
Okay, so we will open it up for a public hearing. I would like to say that we would probably like to hear the ones opposing this first, 15 minutes. So anybody wants to get up and speak, now's the time. Thank you. It's 15 minutes total, by the way, for everybody. So.
Good evening, Mayor, member of the City Council. My name is Dr. Kim Eiler. I've been a resident of Franklin for over 20 years. I love the trail, and I've been using it since we moved here. I run the trail through the Blue Heron almost daily. It's been an essential part of my running routine. I even trained for a marathon using the trail. It kept me off the busy city streets and provided a safe place to run. I'm here today to express my opposition to the proposed ordinance that would allow golf carts to use a portion of the Franklin Greenway Trail. When you passed the ordinance, or the 2016 golf cart ordinance, it clearly stated golf carts were not to be driven on sidewalks or trails. This rule wasn't arbitrary. It was grounded in public safety and common sense. Golf carts can travel faster than walkers, runners, and cyclists, significantly increasing the risk of accidents and collisions. By establishing this ordinance, the city affirms that our community prioritizes the safety of pedestrians, runners, and cyclists who rely on these spaces for recreation and exercise. The section of the trail now being considered for the golf cart use is particularly concerning. As stated, it includes several sharp turns and curves. I'm not sure signage will keep me safe. This makes it difficult for golf cart drivers to see walkers, runners, to avoid an accident. The trail is also too narrow in those spaces, barely wide enough for a single golf cart. which leaves no room for safe passage when a pedestrian are present. In fact, the Daily Journal has already witnessed a golf cart being driven on that same portion of the trail. The driver went under the bridge, and the staff member had to step off the trail just to let the golf cart pass. That's exactly the kind of unsafe situation the 2016 ordinance was designed to prevent. Another question we must ask is, who's going to enforce the proposed ordinance? If golf carts begin using the trail, how will violations be monitored? Without clear enforcement, the rules will mean little, and the risk to public safety will increase. Finally, we must remember the original purpose of the Greenway Trail. It was designed as a safe and peaceful place for walking, running, and biking, free from motorized traffic. If our residents wanted to exercise alongside vehicles, they would run in the city streets, not on the recreational trail. In conclusion, I urge the council to prioritize safety and uphold the intent of the 2016 ordinance. Let's keep the Greenway Trail what it was always meant to be, a safe place for our community to walk, run, and enjoy without the danger or disruption of motorized vehicles. Thank you.
Could you sign, please, so we make sure you get your name right? Well, we do it in blood. I'm kidding. Can you put it forward? Well, we'll start a list, though. I just want to make sure our record's correct. Thank you. Yeah. Sure. Make a line. And I won't charge you for those minutes. Okay.
My name is Michael Lexup. I'm actually a brand-new resident of Franklin, just having moved here in May. We lived 50 years in the Center Grove area. As an avid cyclist, I was quite excited to move down here with your trails. This is a very friendly community. From where I live, I go through there a couple times a week on my bicycle. I dread the thought of coming around one of those curves underneath the bridge and coming face to face with a cart. There's just no way it's wide enough to have a bicycle and a cart side by side. And if you've ridden a bike through there, when you turn around and go up the inclines, you're pedaling quite hard. If you suddenly come face to face with a cart, just stopping and getting off that bike safely is going to be a little challenging. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. Besides the walkers and all that, cyclists, we use that a lot too. And we're going a little faster than the walkers, and the carts are going a bit faster than us. And I can see there's going to be eventually head-on collisions or injuries to cyclists. So I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Brett's got there you go. Thank you.
And you wanted to speak next? Go ahead and.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Lacey Vare. I've been a resident of Franklin for almost 5 years now, and I have reached out to, I believe, all of you about my opposition to this proposal. I'm coming today because I love the trail. It's one of my favorite things about Franklin, and as the doctor said earlier, a lot of people use this trail. They enjoy it for exercise, for enjoyment. It's one of the few places you can go around and not feel like you're gonna get ran over by somebody. It's just very tranquil. I know a lot of people enjoy it. And even this morning, even though it was bitterly cold, I bundled up and took my dog out on the trail because she was driving me nuts. I really enjoy it. And like I said, one of the reasons why I enjoy it so much is that it's one of the few places where I don't feel like I'm gonna get ran over by vehicles. I understand that a part of the trail, only part of it is gonna be accessible, but that part is a little bit treacherous. As I said, it's very narrow. Two carts will have a really hard time going opposite directions, including pedestrians, people with strollers and such. And I know I'm mostly speaking about my personal opinion, so I did assign myself some homework. I reached out to 13 different parks around Indiana, and I'm gonna go ahead and share some of that information. And I apologize, I only have 2 packets to pass out. As I said earlier, I reached out to different parks and recs in cities around Indiana. I went as far north as South Bend and as south as Evansville. Out of the 13 that I contacted, 8 responded, 5 did not respond. 7 out of 8 do not allow golf carts. 1 out of 8 has a partial exemption. Muncie, they do not allow it on city streets, but they do have an exemption for Prairie Creek if you are disabled and have a permit. That also includes, with the exception of that too, you can also not use the cart on pathways or trail if it will damage it. So you have the disabled exemption, and for those that can use it with that permit, they do have to be cautious about if it affects or damages the trail. So with that in mind, it kind of supports that it's not very common for carts to be allowed on pedestrian trails. All the cities that I contacted, they mentioned that safety was obviously a concern. Part of it was also that concern about it damaging the trails itself, and that it would diminish the enjoyment of the trails for the people that use it. So with that in mind, I'm not just only stating my personal opinion. It is something that is a concern, and pretty much elsewhere in Indiana as well. Sorry, I'm getting very nervous. You might hear me stutter a little bit. So I wanted to share that information with you. I shared my personal opinion, and I know a lot of people are probably thinking, well, what else would you propose if we can't use this part of the trail? Well, before this meeting, I would have proposed they should have gone to one of, I'm sure, many meetings about the 31 project to advocate for access. Fortunately, that ship has sailed, so I would ask that they ask NDOT or collaborate with you to find a different pathway that does not use the trail that pedestrians and cyclists use. So besides that, I want to thank you for your time. I'm going to let you guys keep those packets, and I appreciate you letting me speak in front of you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
We still have 7 minutes if anybody else would like to add anything.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing
No,
for
sir,
those,
yeah.
for those that are opposed. If there's someone that's in favor, you're more than welcome to go up here and speak.
Ma'am, did you get to sign the sheet there? Thank you.
My name's Kevin Cooper. Some of you up there know me. Some of you out here know me. I'm a loudmouth. I'm not afraid to tell you how I feel. You might not like it. But number one, when Mayor McGinnis started this whole mess out here, is what I call it. I understand the concept of it, but they didn't think about growing. There are some of us that have golf carts, and I'm going to be very honest with you, and if you want to give me a ticket, Chief, go ahead. Ever since this construction has started, I went under that bridge. Now, here's what is called common sense. If somebody's on that path coming my way, I get off of it and wait for them to come by, because it's just like a crosswalk. The pedestrians have the right of way. And that's how it needs to be looked. We that own golf carts, it's not fair for us to lose our right to be able to come over here. That's what we've lost by not being able to come by the park. I even once went out the back entrance of the park into that other addition and came around. Well, technically, legally, you're not supposed to drive on a road over 40 miles an hour. On Jefferson Street, that you have to drive on Jefferson Street, and then I cut through the park to keep from being on the road and causing a problem. So the only way that this really I can see to be fixed is you come underneath the bridge. I mean, the park system, when it floods, they have that cleaned anyway, so that shouldn't be a big deal. If people would have common sense, we wouldn't have this problem. I am disabled. I'm 100% total and permanent from the service. I have that golf cart for me to get around because I get tired of driving in town. I can zip around on that quicker and get places. But you gotta have respect for other people. That's what the whole thing is here. And I believe, I could be wrong, most of these people that are complaining about this little section right here don't even live in Franklin Lakes. I could be wrong, but we not only now, we have Franklin Lakes, Windstar, and the Bluffs. There's only 2 entrances out of that whole addition for over 1,000 houses. And now you want us to take our golf carts and try to cross the street when you already play heck coming out of Franklin Lakes onto 31. So I love Mr. McGinnis. I thought he was the best. I take it he was your husband, or is your husband?
Still is.
I loved him. I've talked to him and everything. This just was not thought of properly. If there's something that they could do to knock out a section of that meridian that they have up there, like right by Franklin Lakes going over to the cemetery, to where we could get through. But then we got the problem, we're gonna have to fight traffic. So the safest way to me, and a lot of these, you got kids on them. Now, I know it's wrong. The law says 16, you gotta have a driver's license. The law says you gotta have a pass on it. It says you gotta have a sticker on it. And a golf cart doesn't go as fast as some of these scooters that you see riding. My golf cart will go 25 miles an hour. And I have one from here in Franklin. I bought it from the Icon dealer. The people that don't have a golf cart are the ones that aren't thinking and looking about the people that do have a golf cart. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Please sign the sheet. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak in favor?
Okay, well, I feel really unprepared because I didn't know everybody was going to almost have a written statement, but my name's Jennifer, and I live in Franklin Lakes as well. I actually live in Bluffs, which is behind Franklin Lakes. We bought our golf cart in April of last year, and by August, before the road was cut off, we put over 2,000 miles on our golf cart, and it was purchased brand new. So that tells you how often we used our golf cart, leaving the neighborhood and visiting different restaurants and shops and just basically cruising the city to get out and enjoy Franklin. And unfortunately, since August, we've not been able to do that. I do understand and respect the concerns that the opposition does have as far as safety. However, if it is, as explained in the exhibit there, well-signed and lights at each side with sensors, to me, that would make sense that it would be a safer situation than it is now. Currently, people, if they're driving on it, there's no way to see around the corner. You don't know if someone's coming or not. We actually did have to take that route last year because our golf cart was having a malfunction and we didn't feel safe going across 31. We could only get up to 9 miles an hour. So for the safety of ourselves and for anybody on 31, we didn't want to be in the way and we went under there. And I do understand it's a blind spot. I get it. But I do feel if those sensors act as they're supposed to act and people are paying attention when they're going through there, that shouldn't be a concern or an issue. That's really all I have. It's just unfortunate for the people if this is declined and we aren't able to use that. I mean, I know first world problems, but we spent over $15,000 on our cart. We've had it for a year. There's no way I can recoup my money and sell that. And cruising my neighborhood isn't what I had in mind, unfortunately, when I made that purchase. I was not aware of the project, unfortunately, when I did buy my cart. And while it's not the city's responsibility to inform me of that when I registered my cart, no one had told me that. So I was under the conception that when I registered it and paid to have that freedom to do that, that I could use it. So unfortunately, you know, we're kind of at the mercy now on the decision of everybody else, whether we can use that or not. So that is all I have. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Got a little time, or
We've got a little bit. We can close the public hearing.
is there anybody else? Going once, going twice? We'll close the public hearing. So, council, have any questions, comments?
Mayor, is it possible that Lynn can go through the current ordinance that we currently have that talks about what's allowed on trails, what's allowed on streets, what's not allowed? Can she give us an update on the current situation we're in?
Well, no motorized vehicles are currently allowed on any of our trails. Now, are they on there? Sure. It's an enforcement issue, but currently, we kind of got apples and oranges going on here. The ordinance that is before you is the larger ordinance that just prohibits any motorized vehicle on trails and then changes this. We have a separate golf cart ordinance that is not being changed by that. That golf cart ordinance prohibits use currently on Jefferson Street. You're not supposed to have a golf cart on Jefferson Street, on any street that is over 40 miles per hour, and on any US highway. And that's the golf cart ordinance. We don't have an e-bike ordinance. Some communities do, some communities don't. Some have toyed with the idea. We do not have an e-bike ordinance. But no motorized vehicle of any type is supposed to be on our trails currently.
Can I interrupt and say something?
We've closed the public hearing, sir.
Well, it's just about what she said. I got another point that she didn't say. We're also only supposed to cross
That's a different issue. I'm not going to get into a public.
where there's a light.
But sir, we're
I've
not,
given you the legal answer to the
right,
question.
we're not,
under our
we're
golf
not
cart
looking
ordinance.
at that tonight.
That's not
We're-
part of
We're
it.
looking at this,
Some of the rules, they're all good rules.
right?
There's a golf cart ordinance that deals with our streets, and then there are state statutes that do not allow us to change our golf cart ordinance. So you could not have a golf cart on 31 unless you are at a signalized intersection, and that's what's caused this problem.
And the public hearing is closed, by the way. Any other questions from up here?
I have a couple, please. Mac, do we have an estimate on the cost? Ballpark. I don't need an exact figure.
Probably 30, 40,000 for the stuff that we need to buy.
30 or 40 grand? Okay. And Kirby, may I ask you how we're going to police this, please?
Thank you, Todd. Just to be short with this, you know, Kevin brought up a couple things when you talk about common sense and, you know, respect for people walking out. We do, you know, if everybody had that, I wouldn't have a job. So unfortunately, that's where we're at, just to be a matter of fact about it. But when you talk about policing this trail, it's a constant. The plan for this particular situation was we would assign either a bicyclist down there in the summertime, because we'd have the bicycle patrol team, and we have 2 officers now that are assigned downtown, 1 full-time, and then the other one rotates in and out. So we would cover some of that based on this, whether this ordinance passes or not. We are already enforcing these ordinances. And as we talked about this many weeks ago, obviously there's always risk of danger when you have golf carts on the street. I've lived in Franklin for 57 years. We didn't have golf carts, now we have them. So we are in a place, been in law enforcement for 35. So we do have to patrol, and we do have to work on these ordinances and what are we enforcing, what are we not. One thing I was talking about earlier with some of the council folks is the bigger deal we have is folks that want to ride around with small children on carts, people that are not licensed, people that leave the bars drinking and driving. Yes, we have had DUIs and public intoxicants on these golf carts, different ordinance violations. So to answer your question in short, Todd, we'll continue to force it best we can. Do we catch every person that runs a stop sign? Absolutely not. Are we going to catch all these violators? Absolutely not. As a police chief, can I stand up here and vouch to you that we're not going to have any accidents and nobody's going to get hurt? Absolutely not. but we'll do the best job we can do with what we have, and we'll work within the ordinance. I personally am a bicycler also, and I've rode this many times. And you know, to get to one side of town, you do have to dip under there. There are some blind spots, but also as a police chief, the last thing I want to do is have golf carts crossing 31. We've already had an accident on 31, and that was not the golf cart's fault. That's an inattentive driver, run a red light and hit a golf cart. So no matter where you put the golf cart, there's always an opportunity for an accident. You ride a bicycle, opportunity for accident.
Thanks, Kirby. How about trail cams? I don't want to open up a can of worms, but is that a possibility?
Yeah, we're actually, and not to get too deep in the weeds on that, we already have some cameras out in strategic locations, and we have the ability to add more. We're looking at adding one down toward the amphitheater. I'll pick up some of that. I'd have to get with Matt if we're talking about putting something in that specific area. It's not out of the realm of possibility. You know, it costs maybe $4,500.
I
more
would say
dollars
for
to do that.
enforceability, in order to write ordinances, trail cams would be a problem, would be problematic because of the
Yeah.
proof issues that when you get into a court of law.
Yeah, and one thing.
It's just more of a deterrent probably than
It
anything.
is more of a access for the officers. It's a tool. It's probably not an.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And Todd, one thing I would say, I spoke with the mayor about this a couple of times. When we started looking at golf cart permits, it amazed me how many we actually issue. From January to late October, we issued 219 permits for golf carts. Not to be confused with total number of golf cart stickers that were issued and that are actually active right now, current, I should say. Folks do let these lapse. We are sitting at 408 currently registered golf carts in the city of Franklin. So if you look at the number of folks in the city versus golf carts, that kind of gives you a little bit better understanding. But all I can do as the police chief is vow to do. I'm a resident here myself. I've never lived anywhere else. So we do the best we can do with what we got, and nothing's going to change about that.
So I have a question. I know that Matt was pointing out the signs that he has out here. Will there also be some sort of like a speed to remind the golf carts how fast to go through here? Or, I mean, and I'm a little naive with the golf carts because I don't own one, but are they all governed up to 25 or do they go faster or?
That I do not know, but yet I
It's-
considered the speed limit sign after the fact. I get how that could be an addition that would help out, that didn't make this exhibit. So
they
it's
had a
one of those
speed
things that we can monitor and make sure that we get in place, just make everything safer.
Yeah, and it just depends on the golf cart. Someone go up to 30, some don't have a speedometer on it, you know. Mine does not have a speedometer on it. It'll only go 15, but it doesn't have it.
You need an upgrade.
I knew.
I mean, it would also be something I can look into because a lot of horizontal curves for cars have speed limit signs for curves. So it could be something where we reduce the speed there under the bridge at those curves. So it didn't make the exhibit, but it's something I've given thought to, and if we need to, could potentially add that in the future.
Yeah.
I think that could help.
Yeah, and I know Matt and I talked about it, you know, possibly speed bumps and other things that we could, you know, use to, you know, make sure people are slowing down to go around those curves and things like that. But then it's trouble for walkers and strollers and, you know, so there's a lot of bicyclists back and forth with that, so.
Again, as I mentioned earlier, that there's no real design procedure for something like this scenario. So things are gonna come up that I might have missed, but this is obviously the oversighting that I could get to, and if we needed to add anything else in the future, then we move forward with it. So, yeah.
I have a unique perception of this because I own a golf cart. I do not take it to the west side of town for obvious reasons. But I also run, or have ran, and I ride a bicycle. So I've used the trail a lot. But I will tell you that as a runner and a cyclist, I also run on the road and ride on the road. And I've ran through the cemetery and walked through the cemetery many different times. I still have to avoid cars And I have to use common sense, and I know it goes back to common sense, Kirby, you know, you'd be out of a job, but there is some common sense here. I've had people speed by me on bicycles while I was running with no heads up, and you wonder, could you have not given me some type of heads up? I'd be glad to get over to the right-hand side. Right side, be polite, stay to the right type of thing that we learned when we were young kids. But I don't see another way to get those carts across there. I've gone out, I've walked it, I've surveyed it, I've called the mayor, I said, can we get it across at another intersection? And it does not sound like that's a possibility. So it is a tough decision. Safety is obviously a main concern, but if we've looked at everything else, and if we do all these things, if we could just all play well in the sand together in a short period, or short 1,400 feet, it certainly would be helpful. But I'm assuming that if we put all this in, we could certainly take it all back out.
Yeah, I mean, pavement markings are gonna be paint, so they wear away just like any roadway pavement marking, and signs are breakaway at the base, so they're easily removable as well. And same with the solar powered beacons. We've removed them in front of schools, like the Earlywood Preschool. We've removed them, placed elsewhere, so. Yeah, they're definitely removable after the fact.
Matt, I apologize if this has already been asked, but what's the range on the sensors? So when a golf cart or a runner or someone comes within range of the sensor, when does it pick them up?
That's a
know?
good question. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay,
I can obviously get that information to you, but.
okay, thank you.
With those sensors, I'm just thinking if somebody's already in there underneath, and then somebody comes in, will the lights be like underneath the bridge, so that way they know that if they're coming from Franklin Lakes and they're underneath the bridge already? You know what I'm saying? So that way they would know that there's somebody coming, or could be possibly coming around that corner if you've already passed that point where they were set.
That's a good question, and really, we didn't account for that. Those beacons can be placed in a position, I mean, right now, they're just placeholders on the exhibit, but they can be placed in a way that can be seen under the bridge. And to go back to your question, when I worked on getting these beacons, I actually just talked to the supplier and sent him this exhibit, and he provided me with, locations and everything like that would work out great to make those repeaters work, so.
Yeah, that would be with those, make sure that, have a runner or a mom with a stroller underneath there, then a golf cart comes through, and if they're already underneath the bridge, that those sensors would go off underneath the bridge, so they'd be seen, or, and know that there's a golf cart coming there. Because if they've already passed it on the other side, and you have a golf cart doing 20, they're gonna meet you pretty quickly.
Sir, was there anything that, like, if there was someone who was abusing the system, something to reach out and just smack them in the head real quick as they're going down through there? I think that might be an option.
That one?
I'd pay for that one.
You might want to market that idea. There's a lot of places that would work.
You let a tree overgrow.
Okay, is there any other questions?
Mayor, I don't have any other questions other than the fact that after this vote is taken, I think the city needs to address the e-bike situation and take another step once this decision is made, that we look into motorized skateboards, any other motorized vehicle that's on our streets, because we have multiple other things on our street that's not golf carts. Unicycles, motorized unicycles, I've seen it all. So I think once this is determined, yes or no, then we need to take the additional step to clean that up and discuss that at a later date.
Okay, thank you, Kenny.
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay, hearing nothing else, I think we're ready for a motion one way or the other.
Got 6.
I'll make a motion to deny.
Okay. So we have a motion to deny. Is there a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to deny. So, Jan, can we do a roll call vote, please?
So, to clarify, when I call your name, you are going to say that you are for
The denial. It's for denial.
for denying it.
That's correct.
Okay.
And we need 4 to have official action one way or the other.
Yes. All right. Mr. Austin,
No.
Mr. Shuck,
No.
Ms. McGinnis,
Yes.
Ms. Nally,
No.
Mr. Prine,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
No.
So motion to deny was not,
Did not pass.
did not pass.
Right. It was denied.
Negative.
Okay, so I think we need a motion to approve, correct?
That would be the next logical step. And if you don't take, and if you don't have 4 one way or the other, then it gets tabled till your next meeting. Because you have a 7-member board.
I'll make a motion to approve the golf cart and walkway path through, under the bridge.
Well, your motion is actually to amend the ordinance.
Oh, yeah.
As presented, correct?
Yes, I'll make a motion to amend it. Hold on, let me get it up here. The ordinance 25-09
For approval.
for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Again, Jan,
So again, this time you are voting to
Thank you.
pass. All right, Mr. Austin,
Yes.
Mr. Shuck,
Yes.
Ms. McGinnis,
No.
Ms. Nally,
Yes.
Mr. Prine,
No.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
okay, so the motion carries
Correct.
Yes.
to approve the ordinance, the amendment of the ordinance.
4-2, correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And Chief, we talked about this real quick, Chief Cochran, on the enforcement. We have been talking about this for some time now. Can you elaborate just a little bit more on the enforcement on, I know you talked a little bit about what you're seeing there, but we have also talked about how you're going to start enforcing the ordinance that we're seeing that happened this summer with with 2 new golf cart businesses here in town. It seems like the infractions have been more. And it hasn't went unnoticed. As you said earlier, the police did arrest somebody for a OWI or something.
Yes, so what happens, obviously, when you put golf cart shops in town, obviously sales increase. So that's why we saw, I believe, a spike during the summer months when the second Hurricane golf carts came in. So what we did on our end is, the mayor and I had a meeting, but we actually went out to both locations, Franklin Golf Carts, Hurricane Golf Carts, and we issued them these affidavits in support of golf cart registration. It's the exact document that anybody that comes and registers, I know some of you guys have them, they would get this document, and it basically lists everything that the golf cart's required to have, all the way down to rearview mirror, turn signals, all those things I don't want to bore you with. And then secondarily, you're going to end up with 2 of these decals. And we took these documents and everything with us. We also took a copy of the city ordinance, which obviously we'll go back out and do that now. Again, once this is approved, denied, wherever we end up at. But to give some of the numbers, I did give some earlier. We did have 2 DUIs this past year. We had a couple different public intoxications. That would be just somebody coming out from a bar or somewhere, getting on a golf cart prior to riding. We had 3 or 4, it looks like, juveniles with no license, no permits, underage, all those things. And we had several, as I had mentioned earlier, were small kids on golf carts and no seat belts. What that looks like on paper is the first offense starts out with a city ordinance of a $50 fine, then it goes to $100, and then it's $500. At that $500 mark, the golf cart's towed, and potentially could be seized depending upon the offense, whether it's a city ordinance or a violation such as a DUI on a golf cart. Same thing as a DUI on a moped or anything of that nature. So the plan for enforcing, obviously, we didn't know if this thing's going to pass or not. We have discussed it at the department. We do have the downtown officer that we had talked about earlier. In the summer months, it makes it a little bit easier. Obviously, there's not a lot of golf carts out right now. We would just assign one of the bicycle patrol guys to go through there. All of our guys that are on the bicycle squad can also take their bikes with them when they're on patrol. They just strap them on the back, and it would just work out a rotation where they could hop off and ride there. Again, make no bones about it. I would never stand up here and tell anybody that we're going to be able to catch every violation. We can't. We're a limited police department. And we do, it's one of the highest call volumes of the police department anywhere in the county, to be honest with you, just because we have a lot of residents, we'll have a lot of housing, and fortunately, we are blessed with a lot of good citizens, so our problems are minimal, but we do have a lot of runs. We have a lot of crashes and different things like that. So we will do what we can do to monitor. We've discussed it. It's been discussed for a while, and the mayor and I've had many discussions about it. Again, please don't leave here thinking that we're going to catch everybody. We're not.
And also, I just want to add that this won't go into effect until we have all the signage up and the signals up. And so, just so everybody here and you're watching this on YouTube, it's not going to take effect yet. We need the signage in place and all the safety mechanisms there before it happens. So
We also have to publish it again because it includes fines and collection of fees and things. So you have 30 days within that time frame to get those signs up.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Chief. Okay, we'll go on to new business.
Move to read new business by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to read by title only. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item number 1, presentation from students who went to National Park trip. Dustin Huddleston. You guys picked a good night, right? A snowy night. And, yeah,
With a busy agenda.
busy
Yeah.
agenda. So, good experience.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Dustin Huddleston, President of Franklin Education Connection. And Mr. Mayor, you're right. We have students here tonight. It's probably been their first council meeting, so it's been a good education for them. So it's kind of a side benefit to this. As you all know, Franklin Education Connection has a great partnership with the city of Franklin. We've worked directly with the city to provide opportunities for students and also our teachers. Franklin Education Connection has 4 main programs: grants to teachers, where we give money directly to teachers after a fundraising effort, and donations like the city of Franklin. We also have 2 mentorship programs, the elementary through middle school, and then also the high school. And the 4th one is we try to get students on either study abroad trips, but also our first trip to national parks. If you remember, I've been in front of you, and we've sent students over to Europe and also to Japan through the efforts of Greg Moore and his wife, Tamio. But we thought more about it and said, why don't we figure out a program to send kids in the United States? Because the travel abroad, even though we work to offset the cost to help subsidize it, is still big, and the kids also have to get a passport. So if they want to do that, we wanted an opportunity to provide them somewhere in the United States, and we tried to figure out a way, how can we make the trip based on a certain thing that's unique to the United States when we came up with national parks. So we had our first trip in June of this year, and through our great sponsors, donations, Dave and Bobby Amin, Davis Electric, and Baston Logan, we were able to offset the cost and keep it a minimal for the students who went and spent about a week in Utah and visited 4 national parks. We flew them all out there. We had 2 excellent chaperones who are here today, Macy Ulmer, who's a teacher at Franklin Community High School, and also Jennifer Rodman, who's a counselor at the high school. So they were great to go and shepherd these students through that. So without hearing me anymore, I want you to hear directly from the students about this process. So I want to thank you guys all again for this opportunity. This is what we're using your guys' funds for, and I think you'll see it was a great opportunity for the students.
All right, so I want to introduce myself. I'm Macy Ulmer. I'm a science teacher at the high school.
And I'm Jennifer Rodman. I'm the school counselor at the high school.
And we were lucky enough and thankful enough to chaperone this trip. We're going to hand it over to the students, so they're going to kind of go day by day and tell a little bit about their experiences.
There's one slide that shows you all the students. If you go to the next slide. We have 2 seniors who graduated, and then we'll have each of the students introduce themselves as they talk about each of our days. You go to the next.
Hello, my name is Ella. So we started with Capitol Reef, and it was an easier yet still challenging trail after a long day of traveling. All the landscape looked surreal, and we all took our fair share of photos in front of the gorgeous landscape. After our 4.5 miles out and back, we headed to a little pie shop and enjoyed some home-style pies, and the rainy weather began. We stayed in Sightsaw for a little bit and saw some petroglyphs and wild mule deer in the fruit trees. Before hail started, we went into the gift shop and found some goodies before our rainy car ride back.
Hello, my name is Holland Beck. I'm a sophomore at the high school. We started off day 2 with about a 1.5 hour van ride from our hotel in Bryce Canyon to Zion National Park. We started off by renting our waterproof boots and walking sticks and went into the park and got on a shuttle, which took us to the trailhead of the Narrows, where we took about a 1 mile hike on dry land until we got to the Narrows. It was pretty hard to get used to the water flowing directly at your feet and the slippery rocks that we had to walk on. It was definitely a run for your balance. And there were definitely sections where the water was all the way up to your chest, so that was hard to get used to. We walked about 4 miles into the Narrows and stopped and ate our lunch and took the 4 miles back, and the 1 mile back on dry land to the shuttle, where we went back to the main entrance of Zion. We returned our boots and walking sticks and spent about 30 minutes looking at all the different souvenir shops. After that, we took another shuttle to the nearby town of Springdale, where we found a pizza restaurant with an art gallery underneath. So we ended off our day with some pizza and looking at some local artwork before the van ride back to Bryce Canyon.
So I want to know, how did the boots work whenever the water was up to your chest there?
So they didn't really.
They're more to protect your feet than anything.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Max Honeycutt. I'm a sophomore who had their trip paid for via scholarship. And, on the 3rd day, we went to the Glen Canyon National Recreation Area. The drive there from the Bryce Canyon Hotel was roughly 2 hours there, and it was within Arizona. It was roughly a 2-hour drive back. I'd say the heat was about 90 to 95 degrees, and it was a dry heat. Obviously, I had to put on some sunscreen, I'm sorry. Our first trip was to the Horseshoe Bend, which was so beautiful, and it had this massive overlook area, which had a horseshoe lake at the bottom, and there were these colorful boats at the bottom. You were so high up, they just looked like ants, and you could see just for miles. It was so beautiful. And then after that, we went to the Hayden Gardens, which was about a half mile to that destination. We stayed there for about 30 minutes eating some lunch, and one thing I would like to note is that it noticeably dropped temperatures when we entered that area because of the shadows, and it was very relaxing. It was about a half-mile walk back. And then after that, we drove to Antelope Canyon.
Hi, my name's David Strait. I'm a junior at Franklin Community High School, and we went to Antelope Canyon. in the afternoon of day 3, in which we went to Page, Arizona, and when we got there, we took a shuttle bus off-roading towards the actual canyon itself, in which we had a tour guide lead us through the canyon, giving us information about how the canyon was formed and how it was changing over time. And the hike was about 1 to 2 miles. It was pretty short, but very entertaining to be inside of the canyon. Then after we got done with the hike, we went back on the shuttle to Page, Arizona, where our van was, and took the long 2-hour drive back to our hotel.
Hello, my name is Trevor Berger, and I am a senior at Franklin Community High School. Our final stop was Bryce Canyon, and it was very fun and adventurous, and probably my most favorite part about the entire trip. It started off with us driving a little ways into the park. We stopped at the Shop and Informational Center, where there we bought some goodies. I bought myself a shirt, and after we looked over the park a little bit, we walked out, went back to our van, who was named Vangelina Jolene for the whole trip. And we found a better suited parking spot that allows us to basically storage it there for the couple of hours that were ahead of us. After that, we got on a shuttle bus, which then drove us to Sunrise Point, and there we started our long and rewarding hike. We were in the upper rim of Bryce Canyon, where we got to look out into the canyon, and that allowed us to see this absolutely gorgeous view. We saw these tall rocks called hoodoos, and we saw into the canyon where there was every now and then a person would like stick their head out, and we'd see them. They were really small. We continued the hike, and after that, we landed on Sunset Point, where instead of ending the hike there and going somewhere else in Bryce Canyon, we decided to hike down into the canyon, which was difficult but very fun, very gorgeous, and very rewarding. The hike lasted around 4 hours, having us hike up and down a lot of hills, and at the very end of the hike, we hiked up this very steep hill. And it took a while, but it was very fun and rewarding. My favorite part about the whole hike. After that, we were near Sunrise Point again. Everyone gathered water, drank it, and some food, and they ate it there. And then, because of how tired we were, we decided to just head back to our hotel, where then for the rest of the night we'd play games and we'd bond with each other as friends.
We ended off most of our hiking days with snacks and water and playing cards and talking. I think that's one last slide.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite thing was just seeing all the wildlife out there that I obviously wouldn't see in Indiana.
One of my favorite memories was when we first got to Utah. We went to Walmart to get all of our lunches for the rest of the week. And some of us bought room temperature chicken in a bag to eat with tortillas.
My favorite part about the trip was having the experience to go out there in general, because we don't have experiences or opportunities like this very often, so it's nice to have those while we're in high school and still growing.
My favorite part of the trip was when we were at Zion National Park was wading through the water. Honestly, I thought it was a lot of fun just going through the water.
The trip was the most fun I had in a long time. I made some extremely memorable memories, and my favorite part about the entire trip was the absolute gorgeous views I managed to see on the trip.
think all of them could say that they had a really great time on our trip. They all kind of said at the end they would love to go back and go see more parks and do the whole trip again. They wanted to stay longer, but unfortunately we could not, so.
Yes, it was a good opportunity for them to meet other students that they had not met and also go out and see the world. Not many of them had traveled. Some have been on the international trip, but I think it was a good stepping stone for them to get out and see the world. So we thank you.
Thank you. Always appreciate that, Dustin. Okay, we'll go on to the next item. Permission to line item transfer $12,000 from Parks 200 to Parks 300 to cover utility expenses for the remainder of 2025. Director of Parks and Recreation, Chip Warner.
Thank you, sir. It's not often that a council meeting is dominated by Parks and Trails, and I actually appreciate that. So. Most of them are leaving, but I was going to say before I get started that we are taking applications at the Parks Department for the summer. If you would love to spend the summer in the parks, we would love to have you. So. This is just moving $12,000 that we have left in 200 to 300 to cover utility expenses for the month of December, really.
So it's not creating new money, and we can't approve this tonight.
Nope. Just moving.
Move to approve budgetary ordinance 2505.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, permission to line item transfer $21,000 from Police Pension Professional Services 8802-001-300 to Police Pension Dependents 8802-001-113 to cover pension payments for the remainder of the year. Clerk Treasurer Jan Jones.
Yeah, very similar to what Chip just explained. This will get us through the end of the year. This was just a miscalculation by a prior payroll clerk, so it was just a human error on our part. So this is just to get us through the end of the year.
Move to approve budgetary resolution 25-06.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. There isn't any other business. We'll go right to council member comments. And Keegan, we'll just start with you.
It's probably the longest city council meeting I've ever been at. We spent around an hour talking just about golf carts. So definitely an experience. FMYLC, we've been doing a lot of good stuff. Our progress on the dog bowls, like for the trails, has been halted because of obviously the snow and the weather, and it's cold out, so we don't want our members getting frostbite while surveying the stuff. But I believe we did a survey a couple months ago. That went pretty well, but otherwise we just finished up our peanut butter and jelly food drive competition that we hosted with the Interact Club, against them, actually. So I think we won that. We did win that. Thank you. And then right now we are selling cookies at the high school in the morning for, I think, $1 or something like that, just to bring a little bit of holiday cheer to the students of FCHS. So lots of stuff in the works that we're thinking about. We've tried a new approach to FMYLC this year. We've broken up into committees to try and get some more stuff done. We're also going to be participating at the winter market. So we'll be selling baked goods there. So hopefully anybody watching on YouTube or anybody in this room will come visit us during that. And other than that, no further comment.
Thank you, Keegan.
It seems like with the youth, there's a lot of food theme, like all they talked about, or you talked about, yeah.
Oh, yeah, food. It's just the best.
Okay, all right.
Irene?
No, nothing for me tonight.
Todd?
I'm not sure that I was that comfortable speaking behind a mic like you are at that age, but you did a very nice job. And I'd recommend that there be no dog bowls on that 0.27 miles of the trail underneath the highway, if you don't mind.
No
Other
promises.
than that, it was all good discussion tonight, Mayor. Great questions, and it was a tough decision. So,
Educating.
Thank you. Sean?
Nothing tonight, sir.
Ken?
Nothing.
Ann?
Nothing, thank you.
Josh?
Well, yeah, we're coming to the end of this year, and I just want to thank everybody in the city that's had anything to do with committees, and everything everybody's done to make the city great and everything. So all our employees, appreciate them.
Thank you, Josh. Jan? Tara? Lynn?
Safe travels.
I have nothing. Everybody be safe.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.